Hey there, welcome to the Healthy Vibes podcast. I'm Kelly Renato, and I thank you for joining me today for this great conversation that I had with Serena Arora. She is making such a big difference in women's lives. She is an Ayurvedic health practitioner and yoga therapist with over a decade of clinical experience. She helps women reconnect with their bodies through daily preventative self-care practices rooted in classical Ayurveda. Her work blends ancestral wisdom with modern nervous system awareness to support digestion, hormonal balance, and sustainable embodied well-being. She was born in Canada to a Chinese mother and Indian father. Her approach is deeply informed by her multicultural background and lifelong immersion in Eastern healing traditions, including the influence of her yogi uncle who taught her that we don't study yoga, we are yoga. She's also the #1 international bestselling author of Unbound, a memoir exploring her journey of reclaiming self-worth as a mixed-race immigrant daughter and redefining what it means to live in alignment with one's truth. This is such a good conversation with Serena. She has an amazing, calming presence about her, and you're just going to love it. I promise you will get something from it. So sit back and enjoy. All right. Hi there, Serena. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm great, Kelly. Thanks so much for having me. An honor to be here.
I'm so excited to talk with you today. Your journey, what you're doing now, like you just have a lot of amazing things you're doing. And it's all right down the path of so much that I talk about with women and moms. And so I just can't wait to get into it because I know you have a book out. I know you have a retreat. You have a lot of things we'll get into. But I would love to just start with, where in your journey that you had that moment where you felt the change that you needed to make in your life that seems to have led to your own change and what you're doing with women as well.
Yes. I love the question.
We
Yeah. A
we
loaded
all have
question.
one.
Yeah, we all have a moment. I agree. And in my book, this is what I describe is all of these so many moments that I've had over 50 years of this cycle of burnout. And each chapter is a moment in time where I got closer and closer to the awakening of, oh, wow, okay,
Mm,
something needs to change. And so I really
yes.
believe, I believe that this cycle that we're living in, the cycles of burnout, they don't happen necessarily overnight. They take a long time to um, continue onward. And then when we're having that moment, it's just that moment of clarity where it's like, okay, something needs to change. And then we move towards it and working our way right back to that same cycle of burnout is also possible. And to really give us
Yeah.
some grace around the timeline that we're under. I mean, it took me 50 years to wake up to something and say, no, no more. It was different places, different people, different circumstances. And yet, wherever I went, there I was, and so that
Hmm.
was the awakening. There was one moment, definitely, which is very, um, powerful. And I had been teaching yoga and teaching Ayurveda. I was teaching actually at the Ayurvedic Institute in New Mexico. And I felt like I was on top of the world. And yet I was in a very draining relationship. I had gotten divorced a couple of years before that. And to me, this relationship, what I thought it was so um, devitalizing for me. And
Yeah.
I literally was driving down the road and literally ran out of gas in the middle of a busy intersection, turning left. And I
Oh,
rolled into a CVS parking lot and hit on the steering wheel. And I just thought, Surya, you are running out of gas. You've run out of gas. You
yeah.
literally completely drained, and something needs to change and fast.
I tell you, I feel like so many people can relate to I can relate to your story, and I think so many of us, you call it the awakening,
Mhm.
um, and I do think a lot of us have it, and some of us, we just don't know what to do, right? You don't know how to get out of that cycle.
Mhm.
But I love what you said because I use that quote a lot, similar to it. Wherever I went, there I was.
Mhm.
Because, well, if I can just get to the weekend, if I can just get to this break, if I can just get past this project, if I can, like everyone thinks, but it doesn't change unless we change
Exactly.
our daily ritual, which is what you talk about a lot and I love.
Mhm.
Um, but most of us don't know how to do that. So,
Right.
and you work with women. So I guess what did you do at that moment to start making a change? Let's start there.
Yeah, great question. So, here I am running out of gas. Or run out of gas completely. I'm noticing that I've been running on it for too long, even though I had I was teaching Ayurveda. I had it in my bones. I had a great, really strong self-care practice. And I pause sometimes to think, had I not had a ritual practice, a daily self-care practice, I might not have survived that.
Mm.
I might not have been able to, sit up and say, okay, let's try again. And now that, I moved from there, I just kept moving. I kept moving, cut cities. I moved locations. I moved cities. I moved relationships. I moved all the way to the Costa Rican jungle. And then here I am in Costa Rica, found myself here thinking everything else would be different. I'm going to change everything around my environment. And yet here it was. My self-care practice went by the wayside at the end. And we notice this about women is that we tend to nurture and tend to everyone else except to ourselves. We put ourselves on the back burner. We put our self-care practice aside for everyone else. And I do believe it's because we've been taught that.
Mhm.
We haven't had really great, in my experience, really great female feminine models, like this nurturing energy that is sustainable. We have, I call my book Unbound. It is because my mother is Chinese, my dad is Indian, and my Chinese mother, her grandmother's feet were bound in China. And my grandmother, her mother, ran away from getting her feet bound. And so this fear is escapism, this like running away from something. She went away. She found my grandfather. They moved to Malaysia, and then they had 4 girls. And so yes, my grandmother was strong enough, brave enough, fierce enough to run away from something that she knew wasn't right for her. And she escaped that. My mom escaped that, and I escaped that fate. And yet here we were walking on these very tightly bound, unbound feet of fear. I
Mm.
really noticed this as I see my mom now. She's 86, and she walks on these feet with her bunions, and these bunions that she has are very now they're full of tear and succadation, and she has been able to mm, yes, walk away and be fierce and find such hyper independence. And yet she wasn't able to break that pattern fully and create this loving, nurturing, caring response of her own needs as well. And it really took me noticing this caring for my mom. She pushes away care. And I do believe it's because
Mm.
she doesn't have the need, she never responded to her own needs. She didn't know how. There wasn't,
Right.
there wasn't something there, where she was actually able to respond to her needs. She didn't know, she lived through the war, so she survived the Second World War. I think about survival mode. My mother
Gosh.
literally survived the Second World War, food rationing, not being able to, go out and enjoy life. And And that's all she knew. And so now her needs were literally put aside. And
Gosh.
I do believe that that has stayed with her entire life, that she doesn't really know what she needs. You know, to this day, she still asks if someone has eaten before her. She pushes away love. She's never said, I love you. You know, she's Chinese, so like that wasn't said in our culture. And I do believe she has also pushed away love from my dad, and from even full blown kids.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we talk about survival mode. That is survival mode.
Mhm.
That is a story. And it sounds like that's what you said, but is that what sparked you to write your book, or was it that and your awakening? What actually
Mm.
pushed you to write the book? A lot more
I,
than that.
no, you know what came out of it was a lot of these realizations about my mom. I actually didn't really think I was going to write a lot about my mother. I thought I was going to write about my relationship with my father. And here I was. It kept coming up, my maternal lineage, and how strong that was in me, and what I was able to use from my father. No, the opposite father is Indian, and he lived a very different way than my mom. And so I was able to instill like the Ayurveda, we'll talk about that later, but the practices that my dad introduced to me, I'm just able to really live those patterns, and then be able to see the difference between my mom and I, and be able to break the conditioning that I had lived, that I had experienced. And what I noticed, I didn't have kids of my own, but what I did notice was that this was being passed down onto from my sister onto my niece, her daughter. And so my niece is my why for writing this book. You know, I said, no way is this going to continue being passed down to the next generation, not on my watch. And
Gosh, good for you.
yeah, and I wrote, and of course, my own experience. I became a stepmother as well, overnight, literally, and that I talk about that in the book as well. And I really noticed how me experiencing this motherhood, being, a mother all of a sudden, and passing on the same patterns that my mother passed on, same tough love, the judgment, the criticism, the controlling, the fixing, the tightly bound up patterns. It
Mm,
didn't work.
right, right.
They don't work. They keep us small. They keep us stuck. They keep us in dis-ease. And seeing my 86-year-old mother with the Parkinson's and dementia now is the way that has manifested.
That's so huge. And I love that you're speaking about that, because I think so many women, I mean, so many people live with those generational strongholds that it's like, I think sometimes you feel that you're disrespecting your parents to try and break free, or you just we're so conditioned. Well, this is how I was raised, or this is what I did, and it's pretty powerful to be able to sit back and think, that's okay, that's how they were, and I'm going to do it different. And that's really powerful that you did that. And is that a big part of what your book is about? Can you give us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's exactly. I coined this term because I had, I had immigrant parents. They came from the East, from Asia, and they moved to Canada. I was born in Canada and raised there. And so I
Okay.
coined this term, immigrant. you know,
Oh, wow.
we carry this immigrant with us that is
Mm.
as immigrant dot. I think my book is the subtitle is an immigrant daughter's journey of reckoning, unraveling shame and reclaiming cohort. And it really is the choice that we can make. Do carry this immigrant with us, and know that
Mhm.
following every time I wanted to follow my intuition. Every time I looked to say, no, this doesn't feel right for me. And yet my judgment mind, my critical mind, my my mother's voice, in my head, do
Right.
that, don't do that, that's not good. It really, it really messed with me, and
I bet.
yeah, and it is straddling these worlds that don't make sense, and that following your own heart and the intuition is being judged and actually told that you're wrong. And so it's a really interesting way that you walk through the world not really listening to yourself, and that you doubt your intuition, and how long it takes to get that back. Because that's where I have to work, is like, no, I am right in this. This is right for me. They may not think it's right, but for me, this is how I need to live. And I also coined a phrase immigrant. But they have given me something that, the grit to continue on, to push through. And I had to learn to use that immigrant to not go and keep pushing through with something that didn't feel aligned to me and my heart's desire. I started flipping that narrative and saying, okay, this feels like the right path for me. Now, how do I use my immigrant to keep moving forward despite the pushback, despite the judgment, despite all of that conditioning?
Man, that's so big. And I know so many people feel so similar
Mm-hmm.
in their path. You see it all the time. And I believe somewhere in some of your things I was reading, I think you said it this way, but you said something about building confidence from within and not from expectations, which is just thought of it as I was listening to you there, because I loved how you said that, because I talk a lot about expectations.
Mm.
And it's not that they're bad, but I do feel like they dictate our life, especially like what you're describing when people with parents or people you're around, this like, how do you shut that off? And maybe it's how you start when you work with people, but how do you, like you just said, you started doing it and it's one choice at a time. What helped you have the strength to make those decisions and keep moving forward?
And that's it. Yeah, great question. And you're right. We all have this uh, intuitive knowing. And I believe it's called feminine wisdom. And this feminine wisdom that all women have lives very, very low down in our wombs. And even if you don't have a womb anymore, if the knees moved, it's like that energy still lives there. And for me, it was, how do I get down there? How do I pause enough to really get down into the space of like, oh, okay, where do I need to go? What is my body telling me? What do I know is right and true? And because I've operated pretty much, I would say, my entire life before this really came to fruition theme, was I operated from my head and my mind. And to me, that's this pushing, the controlling, the expectations, right? Expectations come from your mind and they're very high up. So it's like, okay, I'm going to control this because I want this outcome. I'm going to fix this because I want this outcome. I'm going to say this because I want this outcome. And so we tend to manipulate and to change and organize our lives in order to reach the expectation that we put forth to our minds. And yet, if we can pause, if you can just take a pause, and I call it, in Ayurveda, we call this moment to moment awareness. So if we can actually pause when something arises, either conflict or a situation or a conversation or a thought we have, and if we can pause and drop down lower, so descend to the heart, from the mind to the heart, you start to really ask the heart, okay, what does it need? What does it want? What does it desire truly? And then go even lower and descend even further down into the gut and say, okay, what does my gut say? Is it true? Is what I'm actually about to do, or what's the next step for me? Is that the truth for me? And what is my gut feeling literally around that?
Mhm.
And then you descend even lower to a womb. I do believe that's where the feminine wisdom lives, and that's where the real answer and the step forward lies. And that is not a forceful push. You know, we're taught to speak up, use your voice, say what you need to say. I agree with that. And if the what you're saying is coming from your throat and not from way down low in the space of wisdom and womb energy, then I do believe that it can be more destructive than constructive. And so feminine wisdom is, you look at Mother Nature, she's just there. She holds the space. She holds all the beings and like holds this harmonious rhythm, circadian rhythm of functionality and ease and surrender and power. Yeah.
So good. So you said you said the womb is the deepest place. Is that what you said?
I do feel like, yeah, the womb is the bottom of where our deepest feminine wisdom lies. Yeah.
I love that though, because our mind is so powerful. And I believe, like you said, all of those are connected: the mind, the heart, the gut, but even the deeper of what you really believe. And that pause to get you, if we could just pause more,
Mm-hmm.
I think you actually can gain more of that awareness and clarity and honesty in your own truth. We're just in this, like we said in the beginning, the survival mode. We're in this like nonstop, and most women, a lot of the women out there, moms, women, are in a survival mode. And I think they don't even some of them don't even realize it because it's the way of the world.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
And so when you started, like, I know you say that you work with women and you work with them through gentle rituals, which is a lot of what you do too, right? With Ayurveda
Mm-hmm.
is a big part of that, right?
Yes.
So what would you say are some gentle rituals that you help women just to start? Like, because I know I at least I feel it has to be so simple, right? To just
Mm-hmm.
and what would be some ways that you just start
Mm-hmm.
to break from that survival mode little by
Mm-hmm.
little?
Yeah, great. You know, this is an epidemic. It is something that women, like you just said, they don't even know they're in this cycle. And survival mode, it takes an instant to get into survival mode, and getting out of it is a practice.
Hmm.
So this practice really is this idea of what we're saying is that it is unbinding. It's a practice of unbinding, literally. And so the pause comes in for Ayurveda. This is the question. You know, Ayurveda it's a 5,000-year-old science, and it's been around for that long. It's very practical in a way that it has come about, in the way that it has been created and come about. So sages would eat something or taste something or move a certain way or do a certain thing, or and they would notice how the reaction that the body had. And so this is the question: what is the body saying? And so we've forgotten all ago that our body holds all this wisdom. Like he said, his heart, you went down through the gut. Our guts had so much courage and motivation and power and truth to it. This is what is your gut telling you? This is why
Hmm.
sayings exist. And so how we have disconnected from our guts, from our hearts, and just operating solely from the neck up, that has what has gotten us into these cycles of survival and burnout. And we're just
Hmm.
constantly fleeing, hiding, and freezing. And so where is it that we can get into our guts, literally? And in Ayurveda, the question to me, and if I would just make it very simple, is there just simply is one question. It's, is this fill in the blank contributing to the fabric of my well-being? And the answer is, or is it depleting? So that's the question. is this food, person, experience, job, whatever it is it contributing to the fabric of my well-being, or is it depleting it? And the answer, yes or no.
Hmm. Which is so good. I talk a lot about energy, and I feel like it's similar, like getting to know what fills you up
Mm-hmm.
and what drains you. And I think I know there was a point in my life where I would when and I still do it, but I'm so much more, it's just such a habit for me now. But back in the day, I feel like when I was a new mom,
Mm-hmm.
I would pause when I walked away from someone and I would say, how did they make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
I liked them, but how did they make me feel? How did my time with them, and you could tell, like, I was energized, I felt good about myself, I was drained, I was unsettled. There were so many feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And like I tell people, it's not that you have to cut that person out, but you possibly need to limit your time if they're if they're not making you feel good, or
Right.
create some boundaries.
Exactly. And the same goes for food and drinks
Oh,
and
yes.
everything we're ingesting. We are in
Everything.
even a
Music,
music, exactly,
environments,
a movie, exactly. And it's like,
everything.
this is the Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the science of life. And so it's like all of life, all of your external life, everything that you're ingesting. How are you digesting it? How are you assimilating it? And how are you eliminating it? That's the key. And are you eliminating the things that actually aren't serving you in a very, is it that are depleting? So if you're ingesting something that's depleting the fabric of your well-being, let's hope you're eliminating it at some point. And oftentimes it's not the case.
Right. Exactly. Well, we don't even, again, it goes back to the pause, the awareness, and how does this make me feel? Like, I feel like sometimes nobody even stops.
Mm. Right.
Like my husband sometimes will say, "Well, I think what I ate bothered," or he'll say something bothered him, and I'm like, "Well, how do you know it was that? Like, let's go back, and there's multiple things here." And you're right. Like, how do you figure out, what does and what doesn't? And it's,
Your
would you
body.
say, the awareness, the
Yeah.
pausing? What
Your body will tell you. Really, it
your
is.
body will tell you.
Yeah, your body's speaking to you all the
Mm.
time, and it's either speaking in whispers, and you have
Oh,
the awareness to actually hear it and satiate. And if you don't, it's just going to get louder and louder and louder. And that's when it starts becoming dis-ease, like you are not at ease. And when I see if I could bring it back to my mom, I see that all the patterns of her not feeling at ease, not responding to her needs, not taking care of herself, all of the ways in which she just ran and, uh, you know, was in this survival mode. And survival mode depletes you. Survival mode ages you quicker. Survival
mm.
takes you to a place that sometimes it's too late to get out of, like my mom. And it's a point where if you are not aware, you're listening to those, my mom had cancer, that she had tumors, she had cancer, then she had Parkinson's, like all of these, those are the big, louder speakings, right? But I'm sure there are
Right.
more lots quieter whispers before. And so it's my job, our generation. We have all the tools, we have all the resources, and we can look at what we have somatic work, there's breath work, there's yoga, there's all Ayurveda, there's all of these amazing, yes, even I would say quote unquote ancient practices that have been around for so long. But can we start to reintroduce those practices into our daily lives so that we can start to hear and listen to what our body has to say? And it will tell you. And the feelings that we have, this is something that we're not used to. In the Western world, it's very much, oh, if we feel something, oh, put a Band-Aid on it or suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
tick or stuff, cold mucus comes up, oh, get rid of that. And these are all signs and CTs that our body is trying to tell us something. And so and this is when we talk about Ayurveda says never suppress or purge. And so if we need to flow up, for example, that to never suppress that. If you're having a skin rash, to not suppress it. It is your body's way of speaking to you and telling you. And then the Ayurveda, if you see practitioner or know something about it, that will be able to understand what language it's speaking. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
from the tummy. So say, okay, so it's telling this rash is telling me there's too much heat. And now it's spreading through my body, it's through over my skin. How do I cool myself down? Because one of the goals in Ayurveda, one of the principles is opposites often remains. And so when we're presenting with something in excess, how do we bring the opposite so we can actually create some balance in our lives little by little every time your body tries to tell you something? And that will prevent getting into this too far and too deep into these deep cycles of or not this.
I love that. I feel like it's so much of what tell my clients. And I do think like these days, it all seems so overwhelming, right? You're so deep in it. And there's so much being thrown at us, like so much information. Do this, buy
Yes.
this, try this. And I just feel like what you just said was good. Those ancient rituals, like go back to the
Mm-hmm.
simple things
Mm-hmm.
and just one thing at a time to start changing your life. Everyone wants this instant change.
Yes.
And so you've said a few. What would you say is one small Ayurvedic habit a busy mom could start? Like if she's feeling like what would you say or a few things you would tell her to get out of the overwhelm, off the crazy train, the survival
Right.
mode?
Great. And like I said, so Ayurveda is not a magic pill, but one ritual and the rituals that you do every single day, they add up. And so they add
Mhm.
up to a longer, we'll see the results later on, but they will add up and they are much more sustainable. So I would say one thing busy moms can do is drink hot water first thing in the morning. And
Hmm.
that's it. Something so simple. We all have a way to heat up some water and we bring it into our system. So after you sleep, you dehydrated. Your colon has been dehydrated. All your internal organs dehydrated, and so you want to wake up feeling rehydrated and feeling at ease. So whenever you're dehydrated or there's obstacles in the way, you want to clear this channel from mouth to anus. This is like the golden uh, staff for your health. And you want to keep it so clear and unobstructed that is going to be your North Star. Always coming back to, okay, mouth to anus. How can I clear this channel? And we drink hot water first thing in the morning because it's actually a nice bath, like a warm bath for our organs. Our organs start to relax. They start to wake up. They start to, okay, what's happening today? Now I'm open to functioning again. And I've been resting all night. So now I can start to function properly. And you end up having a bowel movement. And it's clearing the channel, mouth to apes, clearing this channel. And so hot water before any.
So interesting.
Mhm.
That's good. So and hot just because that helps clear it better or
Well, we absorb hot water better. So the internal temperature, 98 degrees or 97, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit. And
right.
not many degrees, I think. And we want it to be as close to that temperature as possible. So when you're drinking cold water, for example, if you think about when you jump at, when you wake up and you jump into a cold shower, everything kind of constricts, right? We constrict, we it's not we're not relaxed.
Right.
And so the
Yes.
same is true for your internal environment. So if you're drinking cold water, then the organs will constrict. And what we don't want is for our colon to constrict, especially first thing in the morning. We want it to be able to eliminate first thing in the morning so we can actually find clarity. That's the only way we have find clarity. This is going to change so many things in your life. We're going to find that you much more clarity in mind. You're less foggy there. You have more clarity in your lungs. You have less mucus there. You can find more clarity in your belly and your stomach, and we can find clarity in your colon. So it's like, how do you actually clear yourself out and find clarity in that instance? And so the hot water, you'll actually absorb it. So you will become, if you're constricted, you won't absorb. Our organs won't. And so, I had so many clients that are drinking so much cold water, and then I drink so much cold water. I drink so much water, and I still feel so thirsty. And I can see right away, in their pulse or on their face that they're not absorbing the water. And so, and sometimes people drink too much water. So if you think you're drinking too much, if you're not digesting your food, you think about your stomach, and your stomach, we have what we call a fire in our stomach. It's called Agni in Ayurveda. And this, if we're just constantly putting water on a fire, we're not able to cook our food. And so we end up having indigestion. We end up having, not able to us have this food floating around inside us, which then becomes obstruction in our channels. And so it just goes on and on and on. So we really want to absorb the water that we're drinking.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So what about a daily ritual that might help them regulate stress or bring calm if they're in a overwhelming situation or they just feel stressed?
Okay. Yeah. And stress is, I often say overwhelm is a choice.
Yeah, I would agree with you at this stage now. I used to not think that, but now that I feel like practiced a lot of the things you've talked about so far, I realize that now.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of podcasts or books, Atomic Habits, like those things. They're telling us it's like the overwhelm is a choice in terms of we can choose one way or we can choose another. And of course, I understand, it's busy. We are busy people. We also, there's a lot going on, and surrendering to the idea that if it's not done, that's okay. Because doing is a very masculine energy. And as we are living a very patriarchal paradigm, we live in a very masculine world, and doing has become the norm. And when women do, this is actually goes against our nature. Our natural nature is not to do. A natural nature for women is to be. And, Mother Nature doesn't do anything. She is being exactly who she is. And everything works so beautifully together. And, I say this living in Costa Rica, where I am in the middle of nature all the time. I see how the rhythms, the sun rises at the same time, the sun sets at the same time every day. The animals wake up and respond to the sunrise and the sunset. They respond to the weather. They respond to like all the different things. They work together. The plant, everything works together and beautifully. And when we start doing and we start forcing or fixing or controlling, that's when those circadian rhythms get messed up. And that's when we start becoming stressed. And then we stress out our environment, our external environment, or we believe our external environment is stressing us out, which then in turn, through Ayurveda, we are a mirror reflection of our external environment. So whatever's happening in the external environment, we will take on that. We will mirror that. And so if your outside environment is stressful, if your outside environment is chaos, if your outside external environment is just destructive, then that is exactly what's happening on the inside. And so it literally is creating what in Ayurveda, I give my clients bookends. I say, look, one thing in the morning you do. Let's say it's hot water. And then one thing before bed, maybe it's, you sit on your mat, or you hug your knees into you lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest, or you go the opposite way, you go into child's pose and you pause for maybe a few minutes, a few seconds even. And you just start to make that a ritual that you're consistently doing in one thing, very short, very, not intrusive to your schedule. It's something that you will start to create every day. If you start doing it every day, a bookend every day, you start your day saying, like, maybe it's legs up the wall. You lie on the floor, you put your legs up off against the wall just before bed. You start draining lymph and blood and fluid from your legs, and you'll start to feel to get blood back to your brain. And that's just a beautiful way of using gravity, and it doesn't take much effort, and it just is a few minutes. And if you can start to create a structure in your external environment, your internal environment will start to mirror that. And so when we, say structure.
I love that though. I do. I love the way you said that. First of all, I love how you said women should be, not do. Or you said that's our nature is what you said, correct? To be, but we've become conditioned to do.
Yes, it's us being feminine energy and feminine, the natural, our nature is to be. Yes, not do.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I was talking to someone about it, and I was working on a podcast, one of my own podcasts about that, how we're consumed, how we're consumed with our to-do list. And I just love the way you worded that, because I used to be very consumed with my to-do list, and I did over time learn to disconnect from, like you said, the feeling you had to get things done. And that's a process, right? That's a process, a mindset, it's going to be okay. And learning how just to be more in your life. Like I can see where people are missing their life because they are doing, always feeling like, and I know I still have that pull on me. If I do pause just to, like, if something with my kids interrupts me just to be with them,
Mm-hmm.
you have that pull, right? Of, oh, I need to get that done. I need to get that done. And I love how you said that. So thank you for saying that.
Mm.
And I like the bookends. That's such a good way to look at it, because I definitely try to do that as well. With a morning routine in the morning, I have just quiet time, but I've been doing my legs on the wall for the last probably 6 months, I think. I had read about it,
Yeah.
and I really love it. It almost calms me at night.
Right.
So let me ask you, do you need to put a cushion under your bottom, your hips right there? I've seen both, and I was wondering that because I wasn't doing that for a while.
No, you don't have to. In fact,
Okay.
unless it feels better for you. I mean, we're all different. What is medicine for
Right.
one person can be poison for another. That's what we talk about in Ayurveda often. So that's why there's no one prescription for anybody. Everything is customized. Everything is like told, this is what is good for you. But for me, I try and get these general things and then modify it. So legs up against the wall, great. If you feel calm, Terry, that is your information, right? That is
Yeah.
information for
Right.
you that it's working for you. And if you're don't have a cushion underneath, great. So it's not about worrying. To me, don't worry about if you're doing it right, quote unquote.
Mhm.
That creates more stress.
I like that. Yes.
We're constantly looking for things. Okay, how do we get more well? Okay, maybe I've got to do this yoga or that yoga. Am I doing the right yoga? Ask yourself, what am I doing outside of the mat? And then what am I doing on the mat? And are those two things opposite? Because what I'm doing on the mat is better to do the opposite thing there so that I can bring balance to my life, right? So I can calm yoga routine. If this is working for me, that's good. This is, I feel good with this legs up the wall. Maybe you can try a sandbag actually, if you or something heavy over your hips, and that might even calm you even further. Yeah.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, then you just don't do it.
I like that though. I mean, listening to your body. We all talk about it in our health and wellness field, but I love you giving the permission. Know your body. We're all so different. How does this make you feel? How does that make you feel? And I do. I love my legs on the wall. I when I found that and started doing it, it just calms me at night. It's very calming. Um, well, speaking of yoga, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to just talk a little bit about it. I know that's part of the therapy, and you're a yoga teacher, and um, explain a bit about yoga. We all know, what yoga is, but I don't know if everyone really does know what yoga is when you say that, if they're not taking it or depending on what type they're taking. I would love you to explain how it goes beyond just the physical movement. Like, you explain what yoga is, but also how it connects us past what we're doing just physically.
Yeah, good. This is, I've been a yoga teacher for over 25 years, and I've been a yoga therapist for 20 of those years. And to me, the yoga therapy is that it is, who are you being off your mat? And we can do
Mm,
all the things. We can do the yoga, we can do the stretching, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, it's great. And who are you? It's the yoga off the mat that really matters. Who are you being when you are waiting in line at the grocery store? Who are you being when you are answering an email? Who are you being when you're making an order at a restaurant? All of these things, that's the yoga. I went to India. My dad's from India, and I went to study with, after I'd done a lot of teacher trainings, I had to take my teacher trainings and study a little deeper. And I had a yogi uncle. He did till he's 9, still doing yoga until his very last days. And he asked me, he said, well, why did you come all the way to India to do yoga? And I was like, oh, uncle, this is the birthplace of yoga. This is where it's from. And this is part of my heritage. Why wouldn't I come here to study yoga? And he looked at me and he says, Beta, which is in Chandragurman. He says, Beta, you do not study yoga. You are yoga.
mm,
And so it took me a long time to write about this in my book, but it's just kind of the through line in my book. It's like, how am I being yoga? And what does that mean? And every time I showed up in a way that wasn't aligned, yoga is about alignment. Every time I showed up in a way that wasn't aligned to how I truly wanted to live, was meant to live, that I was not being yoga. And I had to come back to that every single time. And so I'm asking you, if you're saying, you ask these questions, is this contributing to that with no well-being, or is it depleting? Now, is this thing contributing to the fabric of the well-being of others or not? Is it depleting? And that can be how you be in yoga, how you really yoga. And that's in relationships to other people.
wow. So, of all the things you said, I really love that of who are you off the mat? Like, and I feel like I've talked to people about choosing wellness in the workplace. I've recently talked to a lot of people, and I feel like a big part of what I say to them is, so that's great you go to the gym. That's great you try to eat healthy at home. But how do you walk the walk at your work? How do you treat your coworkers? How do you treat the people underneath you? How are you approaching, and I love the way you said that. And I know personal training clients too, they see you twice a week and they'll be like, I can't believe, I'm like, you see me twice a week. Like, what? This is wonderful, but what are you doing the rest of your life? And I love how you said, who are you? Who are you when you're driving in traffic? Who are you when the lady at the restaurant, is taking a little bit too long? Who are you when something is not going your way? Like,
Yes.
that's it's such a huge part of our health and our stress and our bringing calm. And because I think stress is one of the worst things, and it's really our approach. to our
right?
whole entire life, right? All day long.
Right. And which
So
brings us right back to what we said about it's a choice. You know,
it's a
this
choice.
is
You
your
get to
choice. We
choose.
get to choose who you are at any given moment.
I love that. I love that so much. So let's go right into, because you have a retreat, because you're in
Mm,
Costa Rica,
yeah.
which sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I hear birds or something behind
Yes.
you when you're talking. Yes, I love that. I mean, you're really there.
Yeah.
I can hear it. Um, so tell us about your retreat and when it is, and everything about it, because it sounds like it puts everything that you're talking about together.
Yeah. This is, you're right. It is. It's being in nature, being in the throes of Mother Nature. You really, like I said, Ayurveda is the thing where you mirror your external environment. So when I come back here, and when you go back and forth, because turn from your parents, Asian parents. But when I down here, I come here to relax. I come here to recover. I come here to restore. I come here to get my circadian rhythms back, and so rest is so important to be able to sleep and that's how we recover. Everything is about sleep, and in Ayurveda we call this ojas. It's like it's our immunity, really. And so if you're noticing you're getting sick a lot, if you're noticing these rhythms, these that of not feeling at ease, you're sick, or maybe you're stressed, or maybe these things are happening, coming to a place like Costa Rica, or coming to nature and to a retreat center, eating the food that is grown here, that is fresh, that is going to clear your channels, the mouth to ache. So you can find clarity sitting in nature, absorbing the land, the energy from the land, and having a place to communicate, to be in community with other people. I think that's what's really missing in our lives. Yes, we're doing a lot, but are we actually just sitting in community, being in community, having ritual where it's like we get up at the same time? We get up early here because the sun is up, at 5:30 and 5 o'clock, and the sun sets at the same time, 5:30 p.m. So we're consistently having these ritual days. You have these bookends. I do the same thing. We do the same thing. Here's yoga. You can move your body, be in fresh air. And so having the environment that supports the internal calm, the internal uh, flow, I think that is really a great way to start or kickstart their way to feeling something different. And I love that we are able to be here for people. I also want, and I wish for people to be able to take a piece of our retreats and our retreat or their experience here back with them, so it doesn't just stay here. It's like, how do we
Hmm.
contribute to you, and you can start noticing, remembering how you feel, and replicating it when you get back home to a familiar place.
Sounds wonderful. So are there certain time of year that you do this, or do you have one upcoming?
So we host retreats all the time. So there's retreats happening all the time here, year round. And so some people were in their communities here, and they have their own retreats. We're also welcome to, we have individuals that just come and they can book at any time. And for me personally, will have a retreat coming up later in the year. It's the Unbound retreat, of course. And
Uh-huh.
and I'll have all the information on my website. And I also will be having it's actually part of a sacred self-care program for women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
So they can find more. Tell us your website.
yeah, serenaaurora.com, ARORA. So Aurora without the U.com.
And where else can people follow you and find you?
Yeah. and Instagram, Serena_Arora, SERENA_ARORA. I'm a little less on Facebook, but we do have an Unbound Facebook group. You say it's a book club, and we talk about the book and our experiences and what's happening for us. And then I also have an e-letter that comes out every once in a while. It's called Once Upon a Sunday. And
Okay.
once every Sunday, either once a month minimum or a couple of Sundays a month. And so I'll just keep you updated on podcasts like this and where I'm speaking and what my offerings are that are coming up, and where people can start to really learn more about what their body is trying to talk.
I love that. So I will put all of those things in the show notes. Oh my goodness, I apologize. That's my dog. Um, and could you just give us, you started to go into it before we wrap this up because we're about to, but I know, I think I jumped to what your website was. Can you tell us a little bit more about the retreat you were with the Unbound retreat that you're having yourself in the fall, you said?
No, it's just a little bit later on in the year. So it will start up as a sacred self-care program for women, and that will be online, and I'll have all the details on the website. But really it's about creating what we do here at the retreat, creating it here online. So I will talk, there'll be modules like teach you all the foundations of Ayurveda, but also get into the medicine, like what food, using food as medicine, to use your pantry as, to empower you to go and notice what is going on in your body, and then how to make it, to bring balance into it. Also, how to eliminate, ideally, like every day, so that you have clarity, you find clarity, get clear in your channels. And I'll have an offering called Poop Like a Pro. So you will be able to really notice the elimination. We don't talk about it enough. Eliminating is so key to being healthy. And not only that, but in Ayurveda, we actually look at your poop and we use it as a tool to assess the state of your health. And so you can learn what your poop is trying to tell you as well.
So true though. I couldn't agree more.
Mhm. I mean, that's our report card, right? That's our report.
Right.
Everything that comes out of you is information on what's happening inside of you. And so really to take a good look at that and be honest with yourself, and then be able to start to use these daily practices to bring in, um, to bring in an ideal flow of ease in your body, because the opposite of ease is dis-ease. And that's what we're trying to prevent. So if we can
Mhm.
start early and start preventatively and really notice, okay, if this is happening, this is coming out of my body, well, okay, if I do this, what happens? And you really just start to become your own best experiment, because only you know. You're the only person that knows what is contributing to the fabric of your well-being and what is depleting. And so to use these small bits of information that happen every single day, that we can start to bring ourselves into alignment and be the yoga off,
Mhm.
and really find health for us and what it means to us, and be able to create an external environment that was going to mirror us. And that's exactly how we want it to be and how we want to live our lives.
So good. That sounds absolutely wonderful. And that will, all that information for that will be on your website, like you
Yes.
said, your book,
You know,
the retreats,
mhm.
what you just explained in the fall, which you said was online, which sounds great.
Yeah. Oh,
Costa Rica sounds amazing, but if you can't, which
yeah.
I know not everyone can, that's wonderful too.
Yeah. And the retreat will be after the online program. Because community is so important, we'll be coming back to the retreat. The retreat will be included in the program, and coming in to have a retreat together in person, and to be able to be in community together and to celebrate each other. And
Oh, that's great. Wonderful.
yeah.
I love all of this, Serena. You've really, I feel like, given us so much goodness
Mm.
in terms of our health and getting to know ourselves, awareness that we're in control. I agree with all of it. And I just love the way you laid it out for us today. Um,
Thank
I know the listeners got so much from it. So thank you so, so much for your time.
Oh, it's been such a great conversation. And we, more to come. There's so much more to really dive into. And so I look forward to.
I would completely agree. I feel like I could talk to you for a few hours more about so many things. Like we just touched the surface, which is a great place to start for most people. I think
Yeah.
it's they just need to start and truly to have the permission to know that they can start and that they do get to choose and make different choices.
Yeah. And that's why I wrote the book, because it's like, you know what? You don't just get here overnight. It took me 50
No.
years and cycle after cycle and repetitive. So, read the book. It'll hopefully inspire you to really start to take the first step.
I love that. And the book is Unbound. And I know they can get it from your website.
Yeah.
And I would guess they can get it
It's
from
on
other
Amazon.
places
Yeah.
as well.
It's on Amazon right
Okay.
now. There's a book, there's a paperback, there's an ebook, and an audiobook as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I look forward to reading it as well. So thank you, Serena. Thank you again. And maybe we can get you back again and talk some more in the future.
I would love that.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Helen.